Welcome back to In the Big Inning, the YouTube channel dedicated entirely to Jewish baseball. I've had a lot going on with my collection. I've been building it quite a bit over the last little while, and I want to start talking about some of the Jewish baseball players who have moved around since that glorious Dodgers victory at the end of the season. Of course, the big name that everybody knows, Max Fried, signed with the Yankees, and $218 million, which works out to $27.25 million per season. Give you a little context, Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale, they held out in the 1966 season for more money. When it settled, Koufax got $130,000 for that year, which in today's money is about a little more than $1.25 million. So nothing even in today's money that's anywhere close. Of course, that was a different era, the pre-free agency. Drysdale got $105,000, and at that time, both of them were considered very happy with the amount they got. So Fried was the first big signing. The next big signing is Joc Pederson. He signed with the Texas Rangers. He's moved around a little bit. I did like him as a Dodger, of course. Have one of his game-used bats from there. Matt Mervis, also one of the younger Jewish players. He's moved on. He's now with the Marlins. That was in a trade. Spencer Horwitz, sadly the only Jewish player here in Toronto. He was traded to Cleveland and then flipped immediately to Pittsburgh, which I thought was going to be. I mean, I'm glad in a sense that he's out of Toronto, because as a first baseman, as long as Vladdy's here, he's not going to have any chance to play. And then I figured that Cleveland flipped him because they have Josh Naylor at first base. So they don't really need him, but then they traded Josh Naylor. So he's now in Pittsburgh, not Naylor. Horwitz is now in Pittsburgh, and they don't really have anyone else. So I'm glad to see that even though he's moved on from here, he's going to get some chance at first base. I was hoping by this time that I'd be able to tell you that we have another Jewish player in Toronto, but we're holding out for Alex Bregman, and hasn't seemed to happen yet. Jays have not had much success recently in signing the big name free agents, but I'm hoping that that one works out. Love to see Bregman in a Blue Jays uniform. All right, let's get to some of the memorabilia. I have so much that I can't show all of it because I have learned that anything after about 7-8 minutes, the people start tuning out. So let's start with this picture. This is an amazing picture. This is Sandy Koufax and Maurice Richard. So I just had to get this one. Love that photo. Taken in Montreal, 1962 was the year on that photo. And that's a beautiful one. I love getting photos that are so rare that you just don't see things like that. I mean, there's lots of playing photos of everybody, but this one is a special one. Moving on to the next item, one of the lesser known Jewish players. He only played 21 games, and it was in 1931 for the Detroit Tigers. So Lou Brower, he was actually a good hitter in the minor leagues, but it just didn't translate at the major league level. So he only hit 161 during those 21 games, but he actually played well. He played until in the minors, in different leagues until he was 47 years old, and even still hit a triple when he was in the season when he was 47. So that's pretty good. And he was a player and a manager in the minor league levels. So you won't see much about Lou Brower. But I was able to find this one article about him. So I was kind of happy about that. A lot of you know this one, the 1963 Dodger pinups. This is one where, I wasn't so concerned about condition. This one's in great shape. It's a 6, a PSA 6. And it's a nice looking one. There are 7s and 8s out there, but really value for money on a card like this. I mean, this is large. So it's a beautiful display when it is done like that. I love the way PSA frames a lot of these cards. Next one, We've talked a little bit in the past. I've shown you some of my Morel meets. So the Morel meets, it's one of those sets that came out just after the Dodgers moved to LA. There were a whole bunch of companies that started producing Dodgers cards. And so Morel Meats is one of the big ones. They did it in 59, 60, 61. I have the 1959. That is an incredibly rare card. And there are not a lot of the other ones either. This is a card I've been chasing for a long time. To get it at a good price point and to get a decent looking card. And as I've said before, I'm okay with cards where the problem is on the back and they have a really nice front. So this one displays with a beautiful front. It's stained on the back. 2.5 is usually the grading for a stain, no creases. So I love the look of this. Now, if you look closely and if you look at what I wrote at the bottom, I wrote Greenberg with a U. So I wanted the error version. So there is a normal ERG card out there. Depends on who you ask as to whether or not the error is worth more. I spoke to, when I was at the National last year, I spoke to one of the guys who's a big Greenberg collector, and he said it absolutely is a better value to get the error card. And I just like the error. Now, this one is a card where you're thinking, okay, I don't see the Jewish player. So this is the 1935 4-on-1 Sam Leslie. And thanks, Mark, over at Dodgers Cards. He turned me on to this one. Take a look at the back. Okay, the back of that set had puzzle pieces. And this is kind of like an extra Hank Greenberg card. Okay, and there's the front of that card, by the way, has different puzzle pieces on the back. So you had to get the exact right card and you had to go by the back of it and not the front. And love this card. It's just like a, I don't know what it was, maybe a $40 Hank Greenberg card. So you're not going to see many of those. So I love that card. Thanks, Mark, for the great suggestion. I love the look of the Redmans. So here's Sid Gordon. I actually got a couple of Redman cards. This is from the 52. So I got the Sid Gordon and the Saul Rogovan. And the Redman cards are just beautiful cards. Get them in a little bit better grade if you're getting them. The nicer looking, sharper corners do make that little bit of a difference. And you have to get them, in my opinion, they're more expensive, but get them with the tabs on the bottom, because that just adds to the originality of the card. And so that's a nice one. There's only a couple of these 1972 Venezuelan stamps in existence. So trying to find any of those is incredibly tough. There were a lot of fakes that came out. So you really have to buy them graded, and the pop on these is only a couple. I also have the Mike Epstein, which is also, that one's graded a 2. And really glad to get a hold of those ones. And now let's get into a couple of the older pieces. Okay, so this is 1922. That's 103 years old. This pin, Al Schacht, I've talked about him before. So this was a promotional product. Kolb's Mother's Bread Pinned is the name on it. It was a bakery, and they were all from the local team. They're all the same team that they produce for. And so they're nice, tough to find in good shape. But this one has held up very well. Al Schacht was better known later, not so much as a player, but he became a performing clown, baseball clown, and was very famous for that. And I've talked about him in previous episodes. Another promotional item, I've wanted to get one of these for a while. So this is an M116 1910 Sporting Life Barney Pelty. And these are tough to find also. Really happy to get a hold of this one. So again, this is 115 years old, this card. So love the look of that one. Perhaps by the time I come back, Alex Bregman will be a Blue Jay. Not holding out hope. Thank you very much for watching this edition of In the Big Inning.